Well, I think we can have a little chat amongst the small group of us, and people may come, they may not. We'll just play it out. Obviously, if not a lot of people come, we can always end early. I know Joel, but Susan, I work at the Colorado Library Consortium. I'm not sure I've met you. Where are you from?
I'm from Great Falls, Montana, Toro Medical School. Yeah. And where are you from?
Colorado.
Okay.
So, yeah, I work at the Colorado Library Consortium, and we have a union catalog called Ask Me Cat. Are you part of a consortium?
I think so.
Okay.
I've been working as a library assistant here at Toro in Great Falls, Montana. But recently in the last month, I've become the library director.
No.
So
you're just trying to get as much information as you can?
Yeah, that's me.
Right?
Hey, Bob, I was muted before, sorry.
No, that's all right.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'd like to record this to my computer, but it says I need to ask you for permission.
Oh. Which means I need to log in as a host. It's auto recording already. That's what's happening. So I'm not sure if it'll let you do both, but let me try. Let me see if I can. I used to have the claim host credentials. I think I see it.
I'm not a good note taker, so it helps to have a recording.
Let's see. Claim host. I have done it. Now I'm going to make you a co-host, and I think that should do the trick.
Okay, let me see.
The only thing it might not do is record to your computer if it's already recording.
Yeah, that the record option went away.
Okay, that's probably what's going on because it's already recording.
Okay.
Well, including this fun conversation we're having now, will be posted online, so you will have an opportunity to review this later. Cool. Michelle, I know, but you can introduce yourself if you like.
Hello, Michelle Spinney. I'm Member Services Manager at the CLAMS Library Network. We're on Cape Cod, in Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket in Massachusetts.
And then Kendall or Kris, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hey, I'm Kris Becker. I'm from the Jackson County Library Services in Oregon. And we have a smaller consortium. Like our library has 15 branches, but then we're also a consortium with a local community college.
Interesting. So it's like a district plus one community college.
Yeah, like they also have 3 branches, but we use Aspen, they do not. And then of course we have, different settings on things, and it's taken me a little bit to think about them. I know that sounds bad, but because we have the 15 branches and like my admin is like, here, can you do this? I'm like, sure. And then I don't always necessarily think about how that's going to affect until they call and they're like, hey, so this happened. And I'm like, that's probably because of this change that I made. So trying to be a little bit more cognizant of them as well.
Yeah, that's it. So they have a little bit of a different setup, but obviously there's global settings and things like that. And those are the type of things that are affecting. That makes sense. We have a lot of libraries and everybody wants their own unique setup. So If you ever want to talk to somebody about customizing Koha for a bunch of different libraries sharing the same system, that I know something about. Kendall, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. My name is Kendall Purser. I'm from the Bonneville County Library District, and we're part of the Library Consortium of East Idaho. So we've got people all over the place, from Salmon, Idaho, all the way down to the Pocatello area, Aberdeen, out in that direction. So we're really spread out, and we're kind of in that same boat of we have a lot of different libraries, and everybody kind of wants their own little customizations. I've had to write a bunch for us because we're the only multi-branch system within the consortium, so I've had to do some tweaks there.
Yeah, great. So I put the agenda in the chat. The agenda is pretty sparse at this point, but generally what we just kind of, if you haven't been to these meetings, we just have a discussion. Oh, and Miranda, you can introduce yourself too. I forgot to.
Oh, that's fine. Hi, I'm Miranda Nero. I'm the head of cataloging at Ocean State Libraries in Rhode Island.
Joel and I were just in Rhode Island for the conference, which was a great time. I enjoyed Providence quite a bit.
Hi, Miranda.
Yeah, we had fun. Hello.
Yeah. So the one thing that is an announcement is that the next meeting will be October 23rd, and then the November and December meetings fall on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. So that meeting is going to get combined into a joint meeting on December 11th. George will email out about that. George Williams is our normal person. I used to actually do this group years ago, but then when I became president of koha-US, I had other time demands. So George was kind to take over for me. So now I am paying it back for this one. I do hope to start attending these meetings a little bit more regularly now that my schedule is a little bit clearer. So typically what we do is we just talk about issues, bugs, things like that. But obviously we're in like upgrade week, so I'm curious if anybody has upgraded yet. Ours is tonight. So
we just upgraded last night, and so far no problems.
So far no problems. That's what I like to hear. Because I know for us, the consortium thing is usually when stuff breaks, it's more consortia stuff, just because we use stuff differently than a lot of other people. So that's usually where things go awry, because it's just more complex. How multi-branch systems use Koha. So good to hear. Anybody else upgrade yet?
Yeah, we upgraded this week. Some of my custom stuff broke, but
yeah.
The only other complaints I've heard from the consortium was some of the newer members who didn't know you had to clear your cache. And I haven't heard yet back this morning if that fixed it, but I think that was all that was an issue there.
Yeah. I find I haven't had to really clear my cache a whole lot and it works, but for some people it does affect it. I don't know why it does one and not the other.
Yeah, I think they were on Apple, might have been part of the reason.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Michelle, Miranda, when are you? Kris, when are you all going?
Yeah, we were updated Tuesday night, so it's been a couple of days. I noticed an important one for me is when you do a search for bib records. I edit bib records like one by one, and you can't like do a search, go to a record, and then go to the next record. You have to exit out of the record and then go back to the search results list. So I find that incredibly annoying. And I guess I'm the first one to report it, which is strange. But yeah, you should be able to, when you perform a search, like any type of search, If there's a list of more than one record, you should be able to go to the first record and then move on to the next record. You can't do that in 2505. And then the other one that I put in there is the 40684, and that prevents acquisition staff from viewing vendors at all. So it's like blocking them from acquisitions right now because they don't have all of the acquisitions permissions. And they have a fix for it right now, but they're waiting for it to be backported. So the workaround is to either give everyone all the permissions, which is really bad in a consortial setting, or wait for this backport. So we've asked a few times, but haven't heard back yet of when it will be backported.
Yeah, so sometimes when that gets backported, it gets backported into a point release. But when those happen is truly a mystery to me. I have not discerned a pattern. I think it's like if a bunch of bad stuff happens, then you get one like within like a week or two. And if it's a little like lighter, then it could be a couple of months. The rhyme or reason is currently unclear to me, but because I know there was a couple times where we were like, oh, they've got the fix. We're just hoping it gets backported, and then and then it was just ended up being the next release like 3 months later that we eventually got that fix. So hopefully that doesn't happen for you on that one.
I am trying to find out when we're supposed to upgrade because we are not. Our test server has been updated to 2505, but our regular, we're still on 2411.
Do you have like a little box in the info thing when you go into your production koha? You do not?
Not that I am seeing.
I would reach out to Bywater and say, I don't think we're scheduled to be upgraded.
Should it just be on the main, like on your homepage?
Yeah, let me show you what it looks
Like
like.
a news item?
Yeah, I'll share my screen so you can see what it looks like. If I could, there we go. So this is what it should look like.
I think we hit the news sidebar, so
Oh, so it may be in there. So if you go into
might
your
be in there.
settings,
All right, let me see.
you might be able to, it should tell you.
Yeah. All right, let me take a look at that.
I wouldn't be
So-
surprised if you're going tonight.
Is this possible?
We were supposed to be last night and it didn't happen. But Bywater, they were concerned we were having issues with holds queue stuff, and so they kind of postponed us.
Okay. Yeah, there was a point. Go ahead, Michelle.
The holds queue, we implemented that new local holds priority, and that seems to be working. So if you when we upgraded that was one of the ones that we sponsored. So it's something that we've been wanting for years. So really excited for it, where it will page the library and then a group of libraries, so you can kind of decide where's the next group that it should be paged instead of going out to the entire consortium at the next page. So that's been really cool to look at so far.
Yeah, we're excited about that one as well, because we have a few groups within the larger consortia. And for some of those, we have like one county where it's a 4-branch county, and it's still like really far apart between branches. So I don't know it's going to make a material difference to them, but I know our prison libraries are really excited because we have a few prison libraries where there are two different, the facilities are so large. There's like an east and a west library branch within the facility. So that's, that way it doesn't have to actually leave the building and get filled outside. So we're pretty happy about that. That's the one I think we're probably most excited about. And we were actually, before Nichols came in and co-sponsored, we were actually looking at donating, and then they came in and paid it. So we're like, okay, cool. All right. Any other things that people are looking forward to in this upgrade?
I got in a little late. Did we mention the extended attributes for libraries already?
No, we did not.
Kind of interested in that, being able to apply additional data to each library, each, branch. Don't know all the different ways that that can be accessed yet, though. Like in reporting, I think it can be. I don't think there's an API call yet. I don't know about it being pulled in via notices, or rather not notices, like slips. So maybe they're fleshing. I haven't been tracking that on like Bugzilla or anything, so I don't know sort of the interface fully for all of those. But I did play around with that on the test server, like adding different things. Like I'm planning on adding the all our Aspen URLs for each library, so it's not, so it doesn't have to all well, that was my idea anyway, so it doesn't have to sit all in the Java, in the JavaScript area, because right now we have just like a JSON file sit, for each and every one of our libraries. So if that can be added to the library as a property and then that pulled from, it just kind of saves room on that log thing.
Yeah, I remember, well, maybe it was, did they demo that at the Bioware webinar? I can't remember. Maybe it was a Monday Minutes, and I don't remember entirely wrapping my head around how we might use that. But I know our libraries love to have all sorts of attributes, so I'm sure we'll find a way.
One thing that came up recently actually is, we don't have our own delivery system. We use our statewide delivery, and those have
Mhm.
separate delivery IDs. Someone was asking, hey, can those IDs be put on our transit slips? So I'm thinking, oh, that's a place maybe that data can be stored. Providing we can actually get at it from the like a template toolkit or something.
So we actually do that. So we set it up so it prints out a transit slip from the receipt printer, and where we store that is in library address number 3, because that just
Okay.
never gets used and that's just there. So we have like it's a C for courier and then a 3-digit code, and we just
Okay.
store that there and then use that to populate into the slip that's created. So that's worked pretty effectively. And yeah, Lucas at Bywater built out was able through however he died. I can't remember if it might have been HTML, maybe it was CSS, but he built it to look like the actual slip that we would normally print out on like a sheet of paper and then cut up, because our slips are kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, should be something you can do. But I mean, you might be able to use that attribute, but that's been really awesome for us because we have multiple libraries that have similar names. Like we have a Dolores County and a Dolores Public Library. Dolores Public Library is not in Dolores County. They just both happen to be on the Dolores River. So
Gotcha.
so we were always getting, when people were, even though we had it pop up in the name of the library, libraries were still incorrectly looking up the wrong code by name. So it was a huge boon for us to just automatically print it, because we were just getting tons of stuff misdelivered, and it also saves them a lot of time.
Awesome.
Anything else people are looking forward to? I know that there's some real subtle stuff, like I know just like having the shelving location in its own column. Just like this actually, I have one of my staff, we had a library migrate yesterday in, and I have a staff person on the ground, and he was just kind of like, they really want, where's the they're having trouble finding the shelving location. And I'm like, good news, they will not have to wait long until it's on its own column. It'll be very easy to see. See, Miranda has put add a table for deleted authorities. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm excited for this just to check my sanity, because I am almost positive I keep bringing in authority records and then I go and find them and I can't. And so I don't know if it's an indexing issue, if I did not actually bring that authority record in, or if somehow it's getting deleted, but not by me. And I asked for a list of all our cron jobs that are running, and none of them seem to be deleting authorities on any sort, like by any sort of logic. So I don't know where these authority records are going. My suspicion is that they're loaded, but then they're not, like maybe there's some sort of step that we don't have automatically set up to like rebuild the authorities into our indexing setup. But I'm excited for just another way of potentially troubleshooting this.
Yeah, I would guess your suspicion on that is probably right, because as often as my libraries accuse like data of just getting randomly deleted, I've actually not seen evidence of it. It's always, if it either hasn't happened or somebody has actually done it. Oftentimes somebody at that library.
Mhm.
And it's always a little journey to figure out what happened to that. But yeah, I have not seen a whole lot of examples where Koha itself is doing it. Now there are crons, and but generally, if somebody's deleting data, it's because if the data is deleted, it's because someone is actively doing it. So I think you're probably right about it just not indexing properly.
Yeah, because I mean, as far as I know, I'm the only one who touches authority records, so I can't imagine somebody is in there, figured out how to get in there, figure out how to delete them. But so yeah, I think it's just an indexing thing, but another tool to help you troubleshoot what's happening. And then the other one is that if you're on a bib record, it only shows lists if it's a public list. But I have a bunch of lists that are like, oh, these are two things that at some point I marked them as needing to get merged, but our bib records were locked for editing at the time for whatever reason, so I couldn't merge them. And then I just forget about it. So if I came across those records again and see that it's in one of my personal lists that's like something needs to happen to this record, that's helpful.
So with it being a private list, so you would only, no one else would see that link except for your login.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I will. That's how I'm expecting it to work.
Okay. Yeah, we're not doing a ton with lists, so I mean that sort of thing. Making it more visible would help with that. So let me ask you, how do you use them?
Yeah, so so personally, it's mostly like, hey, I have a bunch of records that all need the same series updated, and I don't feel like doing it right now, so just add it to a list to get to at some point. But we recently started a project that we add a local series to all of our bib records if the book was part of the Rhode Island Children's Book Award, Rhode Island Teen Book Award, if it's on one of the statewide book recommendation lists every year, we add a series, because there's like a nomination period and then a voting period. And so a lot of libraries do programming around, it's called the Rooster Games. A lot of libraries do programs around that. So we like to make sure that the bibs can be easily identified. But up until now, the process has been the list comes out with all the nominees and the previous year's winner. And I go through and just manually search every single title, update the series. And we have, I don't know, 30 different lists like this that have to, the book lists that have to be done. And it just takes forever. So we're trying a new process where whenever the books come out that are on this recommended list, they get added to a list in Koha, and then for whatever that award is. And then we wrote a report that says, find anything that's in this list that doesn't have this series entry, and then we can batch edit them. And so instead of our office going through title by title, it's just the libraries who are already doing book displays, they're already looking for all of these so that they can pull everything. They can now see, oh, I have this book, it should be in this list, but it's not. They can just add it, and then we just do a batch update. So we just started this process like last week of making the lists. So I have no idea how it's going to go. I am hopeful that it's kind of a lot of setup up front, but then it will make the process much smoother going forward. But learning how to use lists in SQL was pretty cool. And I'm hoping that this is actually kind of a guinea pig project for a cooler way to use lists, like statewide or a consortium wide, I guess.
This sounds like a really good koha-US presentation. I would be
Might just end
interested.
up being that.
I would
Amy,
be interested in
Amy,
where
who's
you
doing
take
it with
this.
me, is also here. So Amy, I guess we're presenting next year.
No, seriously though, I like that sort of like, because I've never heard anybody talk about like that kind of application for lists. So that'd be a lot of fun to learn more about. See
Yeah,
how the
hopefully
project
it's
goes.
not a tragic tale, but also good presentation topic probably too.
I pulled up some of my notes on the upgrade. Like I said, there's just a lot of little stuff. I know one thing that as an administrator I get excited about is there's a new log, transfers. we love looking at logs because yeah. That's part of hunting down the mysteries of what happened to this or that. So who did what? So that's good. Batch add items with batch record modifications. That looks intriguing to me. I'm not quite sure how we would use that yet, but I feel like there's some potential there.
We are keeping an eye on that one for libraries who try to use a vendor that doesn't offer MARC records, and then we can set up our own grids and load their items that way. But nobody has expressed a ton of interest in doing that yet, but that's a thought about how we might use it.
So you would basically just add manually add a really brief bib with the title, and then you would go back later and batch add all those items. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, I love the thing that Owen Leonard did with the barcodes showing on the left-hand side of if you go into that item view, you can all the barcodes are listed and you can jump to them, and you can also collapse different items in there. I think that's going to make navigation a lot easier when doing that. Nice little thing. And then I was playing around in this, and we had already done, so there's some different ways you can do some boosting in Elasticsearch. I'm assuming everybody here is on Elasticsearch and not Zebra. Okay, yeah. So they have a system setting where you can boost the exact title match in Elasticsearch. And when I turned it on, like the difference wasn't very dramatic in our test server from what our production server was doing. There were some subtle differences, but I think that's already, we had already gone in and tweaked the weights for things like title already. So I don't know if anybody else has tweaked which fields get boosted in Elasticsearch, but this does it where you don't have to go in and then restart it, which is what happens when you go in and you do those boostings. There's just a system setting and it'll automatically do it. So if you haven't messed around with that, that might make the relevancy better, because I just, you know, the relevancy on the koha searching is still suboptimal, I would say, particularly if you use Aspen like we do, and I know a lot of you do, then you can go and compare and go, well, this just works so much better. But so I don't know if it's going to be a huge impact for us, but maybe that'll be useful for some other consortia. I know they did say that for smaller, the smaller you are, the less impact it will be. But if you're big, like, well, I think Maine would be the biggest one here in attendance.
Getting bigger.
You guys migrating a lot of libraries too?
Our biggest yet is coming in a couple months. We're
Okay.
migrating a whole county,
Yeah, that's right.
Somerset, with like, well, they were there at koha-US, which is the first, which is funny. They're not even on board yet. They want to get out ahead and see
That's
what it was all
cool.
about. So yeah, they're real go-getters. And there's like one other county after them as well. So it's a lot.
So how many libraries will that be?
Stop counting. And are we talking individual locations or
Well, however you want to characterize it.
right now? Hold on. Right now we're at, let's see. We were at 50 something at some point, but that's gonna be much higher. Let's see. See how many locations we have in Aspen right now. I'll be actually no wait, maybe just looking at the libraries in koha is quicker. Let's see. We have too many tabs is what we have.
I've got all my branches tracked on a spreadsheet.
So Somerset's branches are already in individual libraries, so that puts us at 79.
Yeah.
Excluding a test branch, that's 78. So so we'll definitely be over. I don't know how many branches Somerset Summit has that's also joining. Oh, and Sussex County. So we'll definitely probably be hitting like mid 80s to 90s by next year.
Let me ask you this: how customized do they want to be? Or when you're bringing them in, are you like, here are the requirements of your setup, or is it just like free for all?
Ooh, previously new members have been, you know, this is how we do things. Given that we're merging in whole new counties and sort of forming a new entity slowly, a cooperative instead of a consortium, is what we're branding it. And then, as mentioned, Somerset are real big go-getters. They kind of are already jumping in and wanting to do a whole lot more, and possibly change certain policy and they do get like the standardization. So like, I think actually our last county warring wanted to do a bunch of things with their own hold slips, but we're like, no, we've already done, we're doing a lot of work on that. We have to we split the hold slip, the transit slips, and now we've got like 3 versions of the whole pickup slip, and it's all like, and particularly the transit slip, since we're all coordinating with one another, there needs to be consistency. So it hasn't been too bad yet. They do some interesting things with cataloging that might not work well with Aspen. So actually today I need to email them and a follow up. I was there yesterday. They put series information into the title
Yeah.
because their current discovery layer doesn't display that. But Aspen does already. And that also kind of breaks the grouping. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little more discussion to be done on that. So
I mean, with that one, the pitch is like you're still going to get series information. It's going to
Yeah.
be very easy to find. It just, yeah.
They loaded their data onto the our Koha test server already, and but that our Aspen test instance that was connected to our Koha test server was like down for a while, so I finally got that back up. Like, and then it needs to be re-indexed. In fact, I told them to kill the indexer because they're trying to index like several months of things. And I really just cared about the newer records they put in on tests. So I got that done. And sure enough, certain titles were like, and, it also bumps their listings way down in the search results too for certain titles. You take like, I think one of them my re-index was like Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Well, like the bib that they're using is like position 6, except instead of 1, because we have all these different editions. So there need for first and foremost, there needs to be consistency across all our bibs for Aspen to work. And then ideally that whole series thing isn't going to be necessary. So we'll see how receptive they are to that.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate because when we migrate libraries, they're usually pretty small, so they don't have like super strong cataloging opinions.
Yeah, that has been our previous experience, but those days are gone with these
Yeah.
larger counties coming in.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of like attachment to doing things a certain way necessarily. We could kind of just say, here's the way we do it. And we've actually made it a lot easier for you. Because a lot of the systems we migrate libraries from may not even have like a Z3950. So so just making it cataloging work a lot faster gets them excited about the new process. But yeah, not a lot of those discussions, fortunately. I just ask all that. I'm just curious because we a long time ago when I started with doing this, which was over 14 years ago, we had 30 libraries, and now we have 160 on 2 different servers.
Wow.
So they're small. A lot of most
Yeah.
of them are small. So but each one has the only reason we've been able to grow like that is because we've been able to offer that. Like you can have your own cert roles, you could have your own shelving locations, your own patron categories, and we just deal with the headache of administering all that. But you just kind of get used
We've
to
been
it.
going in the opposite direction of uh we actually slimmed down our item types from what we went live with because we wanted to scale everything down to as few item types as possible and use them just for the benefit of the circ rules. And now we have item subtypes and shelving locations and which has its own headaches and own things we need to figure out. But actually, we were talking earlier about the holds and the hold groupings. That we're definitely excited about that because it gets kind of complicated with us too, because we've got the overarching cooperative, and we got our individual counties, but then we have we've always had we've a lot of more like, it used to be the Morris County libraries that we serviced, and then we expanded. So like we have some individual libraries that still need to check against Morris County first, their library, before then it goes out to everyone else, and it's complicated.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing we do try to limit is item types, and a lot of that is just because we're using, this is another thing I wish we didn't do, but we're using branch transfer limits because for two reasons. One is we need a situation for what happens when our school libraries close for the summer. So we need some ways where there's not requests being made on their items, and or that students would be able to make requests because there's no place they can go pick them up if they're using their library card with the school. And then there's also, we have libraries that don't want to lend certain things. So we have to make that reciprocal, because previously one of our larger libraries was like, we don't want to lend DVDs. We are also going to be our biggest the biggest DVD borrower. And it was pointed out that not that the library decided that, but the patrons were like requesting lots and lots of DVDs. It was like, well, maybe that's not fair, and they didn't want to turn it on. So we've got all this thing, and the fewer the item types there are, the less of those you have to deal with, because when you're doing limitations on that, everything is library to library. So you're deciding, can this library request from this other library? And that's like a check mark on a giant grid. You have a ton of branches, you have a ton of item types. It is a mess. So that's
Can you explain what you do for your libraries, for the school libraries in the summer? Because that's
Sure.
the problem we're having.
Yeah, we do a few things, and there's different levels of this. So I usually send out an email to our listserv, and that includes the schools that, for those that resource share, we say, because some of our schools don't resource share, and we don't have to do anything with them. So I send an email, and the first thing I say is like, do you want any hard due dates? So you can set that, so that way everything gets back, nothing becomes due past the time where they want to collect all the books. So that's the first thing we do, is we set hard due dates for any school that wants them, whether or not they're lending or not. That way, and you can do that, either something's due exactly on that day, or something is due, or the due date won't exceed that date you set. So that's one thing that's been helpful. And then depending on if they just want to shut off their holds entirely, the easiest way to do that is go into their library and just remove them as a pickup location. If they don't want to do any more lending, that's all you have to do. That makes it so there's nobody can request their items, and there's no pickup location for students of that library to select for like materials they have. It isn't always the case. Sometimes they want to still do holds within, but not resource share outside, just because it takes longer to receive those. That's where we get into the branch transfer limits. And I've got that grid, and I basically uncheck their ability to, for other libraries to request those items. There'll be like a row. I can show you. It's a mess. So let me get that up real quick. Okay. I'll share my screen. Okay. So there's library transfer limits. You have to turn it on in the system settings to use it. But we use this advanced editor, and it's going to take a little bit to load. and every item type is its own page. You can also set this by collection code, I think, but we've got it set to item type. So what? And then it's got to load the. Now something. So I did something that is messing this up. So let me stop it and get back out. Okay, we'll go back in again. Sorry. My Firefox is frozen, making this a less than ideal demo. Here, I'll stop sharing for a second while I try to get that up. So, but essentially what we do is we turn that off, and then we can turn off the we can also use circles to turn off, because there's two directions: patrons placing holds at other libraries. So depending on how you have your reserves control set, it either looks at the patrons library or the items library. So we turn off of the circles the patron's ability to be able to request by either turning off all holds there or limiting it to home library only. And then we do the other piece with the thing I'm attempting to show you. I think I've got it loaded now. Okay, let me try that again. So it's still loading all the check marks, but this is kind of what I was describing with that grid with the from to. And so what I would do, like when if this school stops lending, Burlington School District, is I would just uncheck by clicking this, it would there's all the check marks. So yeah, they're not lending right now. So I can tell that because they don't have any check marks going across. But we will eventually find a school that is. Okay, so here's a school that is lending. So what I would do is I would just uncheck the box. And then what I have to do when I turn them back on is I have to follow this pattern of the other libraries and then manually check each one of these. Because if I just check across, then all of a sudden they'll be able to receive requests from, in this case, a library that isn't resource sharing. So that's kind of how we manage it. I've spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how to simplify it. And without further development, I don't think for our needs we're going to be able to do it. But the simple answer for you, Ashley, would be that if you can just go into the library settings and remove them as a pickup location, that's the easiest way to do that for holds. I don't know if that's helpful for you.
Yes, definitely. On the library transfer limits screen, what did you select to make it all show up like that? Was it for all item types, select all, or did you switch to the advanced editor?
So it's advanced editor,
Oh,
and
okay.
then you select the item type that you want to go edit. It kind of goes into a nothing. It just shows the grid, but there's no item type selected. And then you pick the item type that you want to go and edit. If you have a lot fewer branches, because
Okay.
our other server that we do this for is for our prison libraries. They're separated for privacy reasons. That one's quite a bit more manageable, because there's, instead of there being over 100 options going in each direction and tons of item types, there's fewer item types and like 22 branches, so much easier to manage.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you.
One of development I've proposed, haven't heard back yet, but would be to, how you can clone circles from one branch to another. I would like that in the I would like to be able to do that in the branch transfer limits. So I don't have to, every time we have a new library come in, we have like a lot of item types that don't lend. I have to go through manually and remove all those check marks for each item type like that. I would love to just be able to just hit a button and say, clone this to that. That would make it a whole lot easier. All right, it is 10:52. We've talked a lot about my setup. Anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about? I mean, I'm happy to answer more questions on the crazy stuff we do, but
Well, I had a question. I just got a notification on a bug that I'm CC'd on that it says push to 2505. Does that mean when we migrate, this is going to be there? I don't understand all of, I've only kind of gotten familiar up to the sign off stage of development, but when it says pushed to
I
a
would
version.
suspect that it will be on a point release
Okay.
because they're not at this point in the cycle of all the upgrades rolling out this release. They've already put that together. They're not going to like migrate half the libraries with one thing and then another. But what that tells me is whenever the next point release occurs, that will be included.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So
I just put it in
yeah,
the chat. I'm very excited about it. You can move items that have item groups from one bib to, or you can merge two bibs with item groups and not lose any of the item groups now.
we haven't messed with item groups a whole lot. How are you using that?
Too much.
Okay.
So we have them for any multi-part monographs. We have a mixture of libraries that like to circulate all volumes on one item, and then others that like to circulate each volume individually. Then travel guides, we just have a record for, like, you know, Fodor's Iceland, and then each library attaches their items with an item group for the year.
Okay.
And then we use it for periodicals. We don't use the serials module. We just have a record for the periodical, and then everybody attaches their item to the item group for that issue. So this is how it worked in Sierra when we were on Sierra right before we migrated here. So I don't know if we would have done it this way had we not already started using it in Sierra, but it is interesting. Like, I just assumed everybody uses item groups now, but it seems like kind of a lot of people do not. And there are a lot of weird things that happen with them. There's absolutely zero logging. So we have no idea who creates them, when they were, who deleted them, what items are attached. Like, there's nothing. So that has been an issue. But something we're trying to do is merge records that had been created in the past incorrectly for like the same thing, but multiple different ones, and merging them all together so that we can just have them all in one with item groups. And we've had to open a ticket every time we need to do one of those merges, and then somebody responds who hadn't, somebody at Bywater replies who hadn't done it before, and they were like, you should be able to merge on your own. I'm like, yes, I know, I can. So I'm very excited that we don't have to open tickets anymore for this.
Yeah, so that'll drop all of a sudden one day. That'll be available to you, and you may not even realize that.
It'll be very exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty typical because the item groups are relatively new. So you see this a lot with like new things like that into koha. There's kind of like an initial thing that gets in there, and then everybody discovers all the little flaws for their particular setup, and then it slowly develops into something that's a little bit that just works really well. So we haven't, like you were talking about periodicals and stuff, we have so many branches that we have individual records for each library, or else there'd be they'd just be too lengthy of records. So that's been
Yeah.
our approach. So I could still see some utility in using item groups within that, particularly for like not a monthly release, even that. I mean, that's 12 issues, but the more frequent releases, that could be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be like our patrons use magazines so much and they like to put holds on them. So this has really made it so that they can just place a hold on an issue from wherever. But we did run into, some of these bibs have over 1,000 items on it, and it just completely brought down Koha to a halt when when somebody would go to add it. We've had people in the libraries, the catalogers, say they would go to a bib for a periodical and then go to another one and then go to another one and open them all in tabs and hope that by the time they opened up whatever the latest magazine is, the first one loaded, because it took like 3 minutes for a bib to load. But now with the new table where it only shows 25 or loads 25 at once, that cleared that up. So that was huge.
Yeah, and there's been a real push in a lot of areas to load things differently. I know before, not all of you, but before several of you were on, we had all of a sudden we had an upgrade where any placing hold on trying to place a hold on a bib that had like over 60 items attached was like almost impossible. Took like 2.5-3 minutes or timed out. And yeah, and that solution was just simplifying what's loading, simplifying what gets checked, all sorts of stuff like that. So there's just been more and more of that to increase performance. Well, it is 10:58. I will use our remaining time to just a reminder for those that came in a little later that the next meeting is going to be October 23rd, and then the November, December meetings, which would fall on holidays, are going to be combined into a December 11th meeting. So that will be the only meeting for November and December, and they will fall on a different than the normal pattern for that particular meeting. Otherwise, thanks for the great conversation. For a second there, it was just Joel and I wasn't sure if how much we'd have to talk, but it turned out to be a really good discussion. So thanks for everybody for coming and participating. I will see you in some other one of these meetings at some time soon, I'm sure.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.